Bob Samuels of Tech Connector, and one of my favorite jobs is to talk about fun topics with some terrific marketers. And so, my favorite topic these days is this whole AI-powered marketing, chat GPT, et cetera. I'm a little bit confused about it myself, but I know it's exciting. We want to demystify it today, at least for me, if not for everybody else around here. So happy to be here. Happy to introduce two of my favorite marketers. If you guys can introduce yourselves, a little bit about your background in marketing and ABM, ABX, AI, and a fun thing that people can know about you that they wouldn't know about otherwise. So Kimberly, you want to start?
I can start. So I'm Kimberly Stevens, and I have been in digital marketing, growth marketing, call it whatever you want, for a very, very long time. I just left a company called Hushly, where I was running their customer success team. So worked with big customers like NVIDIA, Palo Alto Networks, Checkpoint, helping them do more with their content online to get leads and ABM. So that's my background.
Love it. Any fun facts about you?
Fun fact, well, my husband is Czech. I lived over there for a couple of years, found myself a husband and brought him back. And so he's still over there. I just finished up a big Europe tour, but my two sons and my husband are still over there enjoying his mother's home cooking.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kimberly.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Jeff?
Hi, everybody. I am Jeff Pedowitz, President and CEO of the Pedowitz Group. So for the last 16 years, we've been helping companies drive demand and helping sales and marketing figure out how to leverage technology to scale. So I guess talking about AI is timely. Let's see, an unknown fact. I can actually cook. And my kids are finding it out all of a sudden. They're like, where have you been all these years? So, well, because my wife's a good cook too. So I was always happy to let her do it. But I've been having a lot of fun in the kitchen.
What's your specialty?
I really like to make meatloaf and lasagna, like just comfort meals. So I've gotten really good at that. But our youngest daughter wants to become a vegetarian. So she's been asking me to try a bunch of things with tofu. So I have done a lot of different ways to cook tofu over the last couple of months. So it's a lot of fun.
Good job. Thank you. Nice to have you both. So this whole AI thing, it's new to me, but Jeff, how long has it been around in your world? And I guess it's had different names along the way.
AI has been around a lot longer than people realize, I think. I mean, really, even before SaaS became popular, there's been AI applications and developments in practice. I think, even things like Salesforce Einstein or Adobe Sensei have been around for, good 5-6 years. It's really just hit mainstream because of ChatGPT and how popular it's become, and that large language model, which is a form of AI. But we can get into all those distinctions, I guess, over the course of the program. But I think that's why it's capturing everyone's attention.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess it's more aptly named machine learning versus AI.
Yes, I think that's a better description. Really, the true definition of artificial intelligence being a sentient, self-aware being, having context, emotional awareness, being able to handle a bunch of abstract thoughts and concepts. That does not exist with all the excitement that we're talking about. What we're really talking about here is incredible computing power, terabytes and terabytes of data, and really smart software that analyzes and learns machine learning against that. But the reason I think why it's taken off is if you look at ChatGPT, it's a natural language interface. That's how we communicate as human beings. I mean, back to the days of our caveman ancestors, we told stories around campfires. I mean, so being able to talk and being able and just speak, that's the ultimate user experience. That's the ultimate interface. And that's why it's become so popular. There are no apps to learn things. We just have to type and talk like we would talk to anybody every day. And I think that's why it's taking off.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's funny because, it's ridiculously easy to use now, right? I mean, I just use it in Bing, right? It's right there for me. And so I'm starting to, in preparing for this talk, I just went in and did little things like, give me the job titles for, right, the people that are going to make an investment in revenue operations technology. And there you go. Or, at Hushly, the biggest challenge was content, right? And in writing that content for a healthcare or financial services. And now you've got the ability to just, say, write this for a CMO at a healthcare technology company. So you obviously are saving a lot of time. But you know what I think about, Jeff, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And I saw somebody say this the other day, that now that it's so easy to do this, there's almost a fear now that there's more emails going to be out there. There's more, people are already overloaded and tuning out. So I'd love to kind of hear from you. Do you see that being a danger? And are people going to have to do more non-AI kind of things to get people's attention now?
Yes, it's a great question. I mean, I think the answer is yes, and we're already seeing it. And I think we're going to see this huge spike over the next year of a ton of content, emailing to messaging, videos, as people realize how easy it is to generate content. Even if it sucks, they're still going to be generating it and getting it out. But then I kind of equate this to a radar detector, right? And the police force, right? So, we as drivers, we think we're cute, we get smart, we buy these radar detectors to outsmart the police, but then they upgrade their equipment to catch us stuff. And then we go out and get new equipment. So I think the same thing's going to happen, with AI, where individuals are going to get a lot more control, in part because of AI. So new software, new tools will be developed just to help protect consumers' privacy and screen this out. And then I think we will see a balance. And I think we will get into an era of hyper-targeted personalization and segmentation. It's just not going to happen in the next 12 months, but we will see a lot of innovation.
And, follow up in terms of investment in kind of, websites, really, right? Because I start thinking, are people even going to do you see maybe less traffic, less of an investment in digital, maybe? Because, now you don't even have to go to a company's website. Before I came in here, I just for fun went into Bing and said, what's the best marketing automation platform out there, right? And boom, it spits out. I mean, now it's about training Chat GPT to communicate the message. It pops up HubSpot. So, if I'm at Marketo or Eloqua or something, it's maybe instead of spending all this time writing messaging for my homepage of my website, I need to make a shift and start training Chat GPT to provide answers to people that they might be asking.
You're actually spot on, Kimberly, as I think that's where it's going to go. And I think that's why even Google itself realized its dominance for 20 years is going to go away because of AI. That's why they're investing so heavily, in part, amongst many other business reasons. So I think everything we learned as digital marketing and in demand gen marketing ops is going to change. Every software that we've come to use and love is going to change. I think that software overall is going to fundamentally be completely rewritten in the next 3 years, in part because of AI. But the data models will become a lot more intelligent, the functionality. I think there's going to be a democratization. And because it's going to be so easy to build and combine different parts of software, I think enterprises are going to have a lot more finite control over the capabilities they want to buy, independent of a specific vendor. We'll see new licensing models, new subscription models. It's going to be really fascinating. And I think, and so I tell a lot of people, if we thought the last 3 years between the pandemic, the Great Resignation, the war on talent, and all that stuff were chaotic, strap in, because the next 2 years are going to be like nothing we've probably seen in our entire life.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of scary. I mean, it's sort of exciting and sort of scary. And I think that you feel a lot of that angst out there with, people in copywriting or people, designers, right? That all this stuff's going to be done by computers. I'm curious, what would be your advice for all these folks that are kind of having angst about this? I know there's even surveys came out, 41% of surveyed CEOs thought that AI is going to end humanity, within 3 to 5 years. That just came out earlier this week. And then there's people at the other end that's this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I probably fall somewhere in the middle. I think it's more of a Spider-Man kind of thing. With great power becomes great responsibility.
First and foremost, I mean, my whole job, my whole company's whole job is to work with technology as it develops so that we can help our clients apply it to solve their sales and marketing problems. So AI is another version of technology, just like we've seen this whole MarTech revolution over the last 10 years. Just like the internet, just like the smartphone, just like these other capabilities, we have to adapt over time. They're tools. It doesn't replace our experience or expertise. We're still the surgeons. We're still the creative people, the strategists, but how we do the work and the way that we engage the work will probably change to a degree. But I mean, my first job was way before the internet, not to date myself. So, I mean, I did catalog marketing in a bank, and that was even before email. And so, you know, a few years later, of course, we started using email and the internet came to be. And we took some of the principles from direct mail into email, but then also email spawned a whole new industry and we started using that and applying it. So I think you take what you learn, you apply it, and then you also learn new things. What did we all do before there was marketing automation? There was no lead scoring. You know, there was none, that was a new concept. There was no nurturing. Multi-channel, omni-channel marketing, what's that? That just came a rise in the digital age, right? None of us grew up with Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of these things. So each, you know, couple years, each generation is just going to see a new emergence. But it's not just the technology. I mean, and we have to also recognize that this generation, the millennials, you know, and younger coming into the workforce, they think differently, act differently, have a different set of expectations. And it's easy for us to dismiss them as lazy, detached, ignorant, and self-entitled. Those are all cop-outs. The reactive is, this is the workforce, and they have their own needs, and they're just as talented and just smart. And a big difference with this generation, while we people of my age are comfortable with technology and we use it as tools, the younger generation is completely integrated in their life. I mean, they grew up with Amazon and Netflix and all these other things. Their expectations are everything's on a mobile phone. Everything is just a couple clicks away. And that can't be overlooked as marketers. Like we have to understand that these are our customers now. Their buying journey and what they need and what they experience is very different than our segment and buying journey. So AI aside, we have to recognize that we're going through a generational change with the workforce. And AI can help that if we're smart about it, right? It can help us figure out all these different segments and channels. And that's where the intelligence of an experienced marketing professional can come in. It's what you do with the tools, not getting overwhelmed by it.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. So we, Kimberly and I both have mentioned ChatGPT because that's kind of what we're used to, but really we're talking about a much bigger world, I guess. And there's a lot, either there's a lot of products that compete or use it or use something similar, but they all seem to spawn all at once. And I'm a little confused about all what's out there.
And it's easy to get confused. I mean, look, we always would get excited when Scott Brinker would put up his annual chart, right? And we saw how, you know, every year, okay, we got to 1,000 MarTech, 2,000. And, you know, after 10 years, we got to 10,000 apps. And we thought, that's awesome. You did such a great job with that. Do you realize, like, we're in June, and since January of this year, there's over 5,000 apps or tools already that have been created in and around AI. It's crazy, right? So, I mean, I think that's the kind of innovation that's going on. So no wonder why people are overwhelmed. Now, a lot of these tools are crap, right? And they're not going to go the distance, you know, or they do little pieces of things. But there's also a lot of good innovation happening too. And yes, some of these are being fueled by OpenAI's model and ChatGPT, but there are others out there. They're not the only framework that people are investing in. So what I tell people the most is there's going to be a lot of noise. A lot of things are going to get thrown at you. Everything's going to be AI, everything. Every vendor, every company that you work with is going to have some type of AI offering. I think that just comes with the territory. You don't need to go out and buy a bunch of things. First and foremost, I don't know anybody, hardly anybody that doesn't use Microsoft Office. Sure, you could be using Google Apps, but I'd say 90% of the workforce is probably using. So when they launch Copilot next month, in the next month or two, that's going to be more than enough for many companies, right? Because that is going to be basically a secure ChatGPT, but you're going to be able to build PowerPoints, write books, articles, create videos, build spreadsheets, do everything at the snap of a finger. And if you just did that inside of your business, that's going to significantly increase your productivity. And then the small use cases like Kimberly, like you mentioned, you use ChatGPT. Just sit down and make a list of your business today. What are your internal processes and operations? What are your products and services? Go down the list. If we added AI to this, if we added something with ChatGPT to this, what would that look like? And like any other business exercise, prioritize. Take the easy things that you can knock out in a week that don't cost anything, but help move the needle and do them. Then look at the other things that you would really love to do. They're really expensive and hard to implement. Pick one, right? And make that your entire company's focus for the next quarter or two. And just take a pragmatic, like this very searchable approach to it, because it's going to change so much. There's a good chance that outside of the major vendors like Microsoft and Salesforce and Adobe and others, you're going to pick something that might not be around, in 6 months to a year, and you're going to waste a lot of time and effort on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking to somebody about all these tools, obviously. I've kind of been in that space for a while, right? And just the slowdown in the market on the tools, because people, I think it's, kind of smart, Jeff, like you're saying, they're realizing buying tools and technology today is right, knowing that all this is going to change, kind of waiting for that. But and it's interesting how you said, like, right, Microsoft, Salesforce, these key products are going to be enough, but you still have Scott Brinker's list of thousands of applications. I mean, what do you see happening? Just a lot of consolidation, a lot of these revenue tech companies going under. I mean, what do you think is going to happen there?
I think most will go out of business rather than consolidation. And the reason for that is it's becoming easier and easier to develop software, even if you don't have a coding background.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more cost effective for a company to go to market building their own app or buying some components or using open source than it would be to do a roll up. And as I mentioned earlier, every application that's in market today is built on an outdated code framework and an outdated data model. Even SaaS, cloud-based computing, even AWS and Snowflake and Azure, as powerful as they are. We're going to see a sea change in the next 3 years, a re-architecture. So that's why I think that the smart companies, what they'll do is they'll pay for the talent, like they've already been doing. They'll identify the fragments or the core building blocks that they need, and they'll just throw away the rest, and it's just easier to start over.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So that's why I wouldn't, and we've already seen a pullback on tech in the last year, even before AI became the whole big story it is now. I think people are starting to realize, like, well, how many freaking applications do we actually need? And we still can't, marketing still can't justify its impact on the business or driving revenue, and it's too much. And most companies, at least at the CEO and CFO level, look at technology as this great miracle, right? And that we don't have to invest in human talent to actually run it because technology is going to help us scale. But what the reality is these applications are enterprise grade apps. Like, who do you think is going to run it? It's not going to run itself, right? So you need talent and skill to run it. And so I think it's run amok, from small companies to enterprises. They have way more tech that they're ever going to use. And AI will help them democratize it and get rid of a lot of stuff that they just frankly are not using.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with you, Jeff. But it's a little scary, right? For the people that have made these big investments in the companies that, right, in all this development and have all this stuff. How do you kind of make that change? How do you start making yourself more relevant given all these, things that are going on? I'm interested because I always love this sort of thing. Real life examples of some of the work that you're doing with your customers. Just some examples of really cool ways that people are using AI right now. I'd love to hear any specific examples because it's what it's all about.
I think that chatbots are probably one of the more ubiquitous, but still misunderstood ways that you can actually use AI. I mean, whether you're using Drift or Intercom or Google's chatbot. I mean, there are, even in that category alone, there's probably 20 that you could work with. I think a lot of people are focusing in on the top of the funnel, demand gen, quick answer questions kind of thing, which these chatbots do quite easily. But many of them do have their own machine learning and AI components in it that if you took a little bit more time and effort, connected those chatbots into some of your other applications and systems, you could deliver a much better, more comprehensive customer experience. Whether it's customer support, starting with onboarding and helping them, understand what they need to do and interacting more with you around your product or service, that will make that, and that drives adoption. Using it internally for knowledge management and key document searching, which very few companies do. So I think that's one of the more practical ways. These applications are already tried and true. They work really well. They're highly intuitive. They're pretty easy to set up, and work with workflow, and they're easy to train. And at the end of the day, they're really not that expensive compared to some of the other applications that are in the market. That would be one. I think the second one is what a lot of people don't realize around AI is the same thing that people have not realized around anything related to martech and processes for the last 20 years is how important data is. In all this time, every company I've ever worked with has no problem spending money to get more data. They'll buy lists, they'll go to shows, right? They'll do whatever they can. They pay for subscriptions to Zoom and D&D and all this other stuff. They will not budget and they will not spend anything to clean the data, to put in governance standards and models. They think it's wasted money. It's easier for them to go buy more data than it is for them to clean up the data that they have. So I think one of the biggest aha moments will be for many companies is their AI initiatives will fail spectacularly if they don't fix the data. Because what does the machine learn on? Data. So if your data sucks, what do you think is going to happen to your model? And you're going to get all excited about the predictive modeling and the decisions that they make, but it's going to be wrong because your data is wrong. So I think if you're not making data a priority even before you're trying to figure out what AI widget you're going to go out and buy, you're making a big mistake.
I think you're totally right on that. Totally spot on. And it's like I've watched the change for marketing over the years. The reality is people are slow to change and people like working on what they like working on. And data is not sexy and it's hard. And you got to have your strategy like nailed down before you even get in there. And so people get overwhelmed and don't even start. And they'd rather focus on that, what shade of red and, like what the wording is. I've seen CEOs go in and look at newsletter copy and you still see this sort of thing. People focused on the things they like to do, which a lot of that stuff is going to be replaced, right? With AI writing the copy or doing the design stuff, and it's really people need to, kind of make that shift and go, we got to do the stuff that's hard. Even though we don't want to do it, that data cleanup thing, I mean, I think you're spot on that, Jeff. And it's just, people need to do the things that are going to have the biggest impact on the business. And that's not the sexy, fun stuff.
No, it's not. And that's a lot of what we're doing, though, with our clients. It's not the sexy, upfront stuff, but it's the core things that allow your business to actually run. It's the plumbing, it's the infrastructure, it's all the important things. And where you have a CRM with an open text field so people can type in stuff, or you might have rules with drop downs, but you allow, when you buy lists and such to be uploaded without following those parameters. You allow your sales teams not attach context to the opportunity, which basically, by the way, 15 years later, 40% of the time, like company sales teams do not do that, which is ridiculous. How do you even get attribution if you can't even connect the people to the very opportunity? And especially for those of us in B2B that are dealing with complex buying committees and all these different factors, if you're not going to be correlating. And by the way, as an aside, that's another perfect example of why today's data models are so antiquated compared with how people buy. think about, most of us have Salesforce or Microsoft or some CRM. What do? We market to people in marketing, and then a lead is created, that lead gets converted. The salesperson creates the opportunity and assigns a contact, right? The contact, and that first contact is used as the lead source, right? And the attribution. But what about the other 10, 12, 25 people? Sure, marketing might have it in Marketo or HubSpot or Marketing Cloud, but it's not getting attached to the opportunity. There's no buying center model there. Even if you're using a campaign object, you might not be attributing that campaign back to the opportunity. So the methods of measuring attribution, the methods of attaching marketing's contributions to the opportunity in the funnel are outdated and wrong. When we know today, for a single person, it can take 7 to 15 touches just to get them engaged. And then you multiply that times n number of possibilities on a buying committee. And for those of us that are in B2B, that's all we're dealing with now. It doesn't work. And then you add that, well, you're not paying attention to your data, you're not taking care of it, but you keep buying more software because you think that this widget, this tool, this category will help. You generate even more content. You launch even more campaigns in a frenzied effort to think that more is better. I think that's why every CMO I've been talking to over the last 6 months are like, it's so freaking quiet. It's like we're getting ghosted. Bob and I were actually texting about this morning, right? Even I'm getting ghosted. I'm like, I never get ghosted. I'm like, it's not even an ego thing. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, I don't like, I reach out to people, they get back to me, or they're blowing me off. I just think people are completely oversaturated, overwhelmed, and they're all trying to figure it out. But the answer is not more. The answer is less. The answer is really taking the time to truly understand our customer. And we say that like it's lip service. Everyone throws around, we need to be more customer-centered. We need to be more customer-centered. That's bullshit. You're not really doing it. All you're doing is improving your customer service, but you're not really becoming more customer-centric.
Yeah.
Good topic.
Yep. Like I laugh at this because, and I go back to this thing with, it's hard, and building, like honestly building, like when you say personalization at scale, that's kind of funny because true personalization is, I have a relationship, right, with you, and this is real, and I genuinely care about, right, this company. I'm just thinking about my own experience leading customer success. Like I would explain this internally. You even for customers, this isn't even for prospects, but you got to go through the work of finding those key people in the organization, like even like invites to go to lunch now, like you said, getting ghosted. It's like, you can't even, you got to create these video messages. Like I am talking to you, Kimberly, and here is a demo of what you should be doing with this tool. Like it is exhausting, but you have to do this. You have to put that work in, right? If you want to renew customers, grow your business, like events. I love people spending all this money, like you said, on an event, and you make the decision at the last minute. You got to start working 3 months in advance to get the right people to come to that event and meet with you. And you better provide a killer experience, drinks and the demo. This is not the way it's working. You got to put the effort in to connect on a personal level with these people, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I mean, those of us that do events know it's not really about the booth. It's everything that you do around the booth. It's the suite. It's setting up the appointments in advance. It's coordinating the parties and the other types of things, content. So that's a complete immersive experience for people that are attending. You're just the booth is the window dressing, but that's not really where the real activity is happening. So I think it's the same thing with just all of us in marketing today. Yeah, look, it is hard. I mean, but that's also gets me up every day. I mean, I love it. I love the challenge of trying to figure this all out. Working with the technology, the people, the segments, the channels. I mean, if it was easy, it would be boring, and who wants to be boring? But today's marketing executive is tasked incredibly so. And the other problem that we've gotten, and look, I realize there's a big demand generation and having marketing be accountable and all that, but that doesn't mean that marketers can over pivot to demand and forget about brand. So it's awesome if you can do the numbers and you're on top of everything and you can measure attribution, but don't forget about the story and the art of marketing and actually connecting to your customers and creating that connection. Because at the end of the day, your brand is you, right? So if you're not paying attention to the brand and you're only focused on the numbers, it's going to be dispassionate. It's going to be disconnected, and you can't monetize and grow something that has no emotional connection to people.
Beautiful. Well, lots more we could talk about. We're at the half-hour mark, which is what I kind of promised. We can stay on for informal chat. People in the audience can stay on as well. This has been really good, and it's nice food for thought as we're going to have more conversations in the future. We're looking at a July 13th webinar, bring in some more sharp marketers, get more other visions and ideas of all of this. So I'm looking forward to it.
We are too.
Yeah. So I was in these with your predictions, and Jeff, you've kind of mentioned along the way what things are going to look like in the next few years. Kimberly, do you have any? Are you a visionary? Do you have any thoughts about how your world's going to be in a year? Or
I don't know if I'm a visionary. I'm not going to give myself that sort of credit. I am hoping that we're going to see people make more of an effort in their personal branding and making sure people understand. And I'm just doing this for my own sort of thing, joyful led growth. This is my new thing of like investing in people. Now with all this stuff, you've got to show people who you are and why they want to work with you. And that is going to become the most important thing, is people getting themselves out there and saying, work with me because I'm not a computer, because I'm fun to work with, because I'm smart. And you're going to see people invest a lot more in having to show really who they are and why you want to do business with them.
I love that. Jeff, any final thoughts or words of wisdom for now until we meet again?
Yeah, just don't get overwhelmed by AI as much as it's going to be changed. Everything that you've learned as an executive still applies, right? Take the time, plan, discuss, do risk analysis, do SWOT. That all works. All those models work. It's just now, how do you do that through the lens of AI? Don't get out over your skis, because the market's going to change faster than any of us can predict. Even the best experts in the world don't know where all this is going to go. And if they tell you that, they're full of it. So just take it a step at a time, come up with some things. At a bare minimum, if you just embrace ChatGPT and Copilot, you will see a productivity increase of 25 to 30% across your entire organization. That I guarantee. And then if you just do everything else the same way, that time that you free up from your team to focus on other value-added activities is still good for your business. It's good for your customers, and it's good for the market.
Beautiful. Well, thank you both. This has been exactly what I was hoping for: entertaining and educational and kind of fun. So thank you. And I look forward to our chats in the next few weeks.
Thanks, Bob.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Kimberly.
Thank you both. Cheers.